Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Armor Animal Health video series, Have You Heard? We're happy to bring you educational and relevant information to help your operations bottom line. I'm coming live from my shop here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, as my kids finish up virtual learning inside the house. I'm Josh Berg, the Northwest Territory Manager for Armor. I have been with Armor for the last 4 years and in the animal health industry for 8. I live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin with my wife and three kids. We recently got a puppy, and I am training her to bird hunt and shed hunt with us, and I'm hoping to also learn how to duck hunt with her. This week, we're going to be talking about farm safety as it pertains to chemicals, road, and farm machinery, which are used on an everyday basis as most of our customers. Today, we have our operations manager, Chad Cornell, joining us from Mandan, North Dakota. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, but let me be the first person to say happy birthday on Facebook Live.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. I wasn't expecting that, but I appreciate it. Good afternoon. My name is Chad Cornell. I'm the operations manager here in Armor Animal Health in Mandan, North Dakota. I've been with the company for a total of 7 years. I've been in the warehouse since day one and worked my way up to my current position. I'm originally from West Fargo, North Dakota. I'm married with 3 kids. In my spare time, I enjoy ice fishing, especially ice fishing, and I'm a huge baseball fan, and my team of choice is the Chicago Cubs.
Before you begin, I want to let all our viewers know that if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, type them in the comments section, and we'll be sure to get to all of those at the end of the presentation. If you are watching on the recorded version, you are still welcome to post any questions, but we will certainly get back to you with an answer. Chad, what are the types of hazardous chemicals?
So the hazardous chemicals are divided into 4 main groups. The first group is flammable, which are substances that will ignite and continue to burn when they are brought into contact with the ignition source. Examples of that would be ivermectin, Dectamax, Ivamac, 99% alcohol, and all your aerosols. The next group we have is the corrosive, which are materials that can attack and chemically destroy exposed body tissues. They can and will destroy metal also. A perfect example of that would be CU extender. Then we move on to the poison category, substances that can cause significant harm or death, even at very small amounts. Some examples of the Prozap that we carry, or some examples of poison that we carry are Prozap and Ravap. And then we have environmental hazards. Those are substances that can cause harm to the environment, air, water, the ground. A couple examples that we carry of some of the environmental hazards are copper sulfate and formaldehyde.
Why are there so many procedures and paperwork when it comes to transportation of hazmat chemical?
Transportation of the hazmat chemicals are very strictly regulated by the Department of Transportation. The reason why they regulate it so heavily is to minimize threats to life, property, and to the environment. The number one way to communicate the risk is by using placards. Placards are symbols, colors, and numbers associated to various hazardous items that are universally the same. So the hazmat placarding for poison is the same in the U.S. as it is in Canada, as it is in Switzerland, all around the globe. Placarding provides quick information in emergency situations to minimize potential damage and or injury.
What are the risks with each chemical classification?
So the risk associated with each chemical are pretty much the same. In a general sense, you have burns, inhalation hazards to your eyes, your lungs. Like I said, they're similar in terms of what they can do to humans and animals. Illness, burns, and death. Best precaution is to read and understand the labels. They'll have all the warnings on the label of the product that you're using. Most important of all is to use the proper PPE at all times to prevent exposure, that being gloves, goggles, and respirators. And of course, follow all the recommendations that are on the label.
Thanks, Chad. Can you explain the proper place guarding when transporting these chemicals?
So as I mentioned, the Department of Transportation mandates that hazmat placards be used when transporting hazardous materials and dangerous goods. These DOT placards and hazardous materials placards have numbers on them noting specific chemicals or groups of chemicals that are being transported. A hazmat sign has 6 main parts, though not every sign includes all 6. They're divided up into different classes. Hazmat class number 1 are your explosives. Class 2 are gases. Class 3 are flammable or combustible liquids. Class 4 are flammable solids. Class 5 are oxidizers. Class 6 are poisons. Class 7 is radioactive. Class 8 is corrosive. And Class 9 is a miscellaneous dangerous or limited quantity chemicals. Now each chemical has a UN or a NA number. Those are 4-digit numbers ranging from 0004 to 3534 and are called UN numbers. They help identify hazardous international cargo traveling in the United States. Goods that aren't classified or regulated by the United Nations receive NA numbers. These 4-digit numbers range from 8000 to 9279 and are assigned by the DOT. All UN and NA placards come with an identifier that helps shippers determine the cargo's class, division, and the compatibility group. Then there's also compatibility letters. On some signs you may see letters A through S. These compatibility letters help shippers and carriers know which explosives can be loaded together onto a trailer.
Wow, that sounds confusing. But what do all the colors mean?
So each placard has a different color. Orange represents explosive materials, which can include products like dynamite, fireworks, and ammunition. These signs typically have words explosives or blasting agents on them and a graphic indicating something blowing up. They'll also have the numbers 1 to indicate the class. Red is for flammable goods like gasoline, rubbing alcohol, paint, and acetone, which can fall into classes 2 or 3. These placards feature a flame image and usually have the words flammable, gasoline, combustible, or fuel oil. Now the green, if the truck has a green sign, is transporting non-flammable substances like compressed and liquefied gases. You'll see the word non-flammable gas as an image of an image of a gas canister and the number 2. Yellow indicates oxidizers, substances that when mixed with oxygen are likely to combust. Classes 2 or 5. Common oxidizers include ammonium nitrate, potassium nitrate, halogens, and nitric acid. These signs have oxygen written on them and a graphic of an O with flames. Now, white indicates poisonous and biohazardous substances like dyes, acid, aerosols, and medical waste. For toxic materials, the sign will be labeled poison, PGIII, PG meaning packaging group, or inhalation hazard with a skull and crossbones image. For biohazards, the placard will say infectious substances and have a biohazard symbol, which is 3 circles overlapping 1 center circle. These types of materials can fall into classes 2 or 6. Blue represents goods that are dangerous when wet, meaning that these materials, when they meet water, become flammable. Examples will include sodium, calcium, and potassium. You'll see dangerous when wet, an image of a flame, and the number 4 on these placards. Red and white with spontaneously combustible written on it, a flame graphic, and the number 4, that means that there are substances present that may ignite when exposed to air. This can include things like aluminum and lithium alkalis or white phosphorus. Now, red and white stripes, those are signs that have red and white vertical stripes with the number 4, which represents flammable solids such as matches and magnesium. These placards are labeled flammable solid and have a fire graphic. Red and yellow indicate organic peroxides, which have the potential to ignite or explode. They fall under Division 5.2. Some common examples are methyl ethyl ketene peroxide and benzoyl peroxide. These signs say organic peroxide will either have a graphic of a 0 or an O with flames or just a normal fire graphic. Now, yellow and white represent radioactive substances that are often found in medical equipment. You'll see the word radioactive, the radiation symbol of 3 blades surrounding a small circle, and the number 7. White and black, those signify corrosive materials that can irritate and harm the skin. Examples would include batteries, hydrochloric acid, and sulfuric acid. These signs say corrosive, show substances spilling onto hands, and also have the number 8. And finally, white with black stripes. A white sign with black vertical stripes at the top and the number 9 at the bottom signals miscellaneous dangerous goods. This includes everything environmentally hazardous that don't fall into specific classes like asbestos and dry ice.
Thank you, Chad. For our farmers out there, what tips do you have for the storage of their chemicals?
Storing your chemicals is very important. The number one thing you want to do when you're storing your chemicals is do not remove the labels. There's so much information on that label that's pertinent to what's out there. What you can and can't do is that keep the label on there. Also keep it in their original containers. Do not pour into a smaller bottle that's unlabeled. Some other tips is to store chemicals in your PPE in different locations. Do not store the liquid chemicals above any solids. Separate the different classes of chemicals and store in separate areas to prevent reactions. Of course, keep your animal feed separate from any chemicals, and keep any ignition sources, which an outlet, extension cord, fence energizers, away from any chemical.
We do have a question here, Chad, too. How do I dispose of leftover hazmat products?
So the best way to do that is to contact your local garbage sanitation department. Typically, every community will have a free hazardous chemical pickup day or delivery day where you can drop it off, and they'll take care of it there. Some communities charge a fee, some don't. So the best thing I can tell you is, number one, don't dump it in the creek, don't dump it on the ground. Call your local sanitation department or city hall and tell them that you have some unwanted or unused chemicals and you're looking to dispose of them, and they'll put you in touch with the right person.
Okay, thank you, Chad. I also want to remind our viewers that we want this to be interactive. So when Chad is talking, feel free to use the comment section to post any questions you have throughout the presentation. Don't be shy. Chad, what do you recommend our farmers do when they are transporting chemicals?
Some of the things that the farmers can do when they're transporting chemicals is to, of course, separate it from any food, water, feed, or seeds. You don't want to contaminate any of that with any unwanted chemicals. You want to carry a written record of the chemicals you are transporting. That way, if there's an accident or a spill, the emergency response team knows exactly what you're transporting. And as always, you want to take along the proper PPE, which would be either gloves, face mask, respirators, all that stuff. Again, read the label and they'll tell you exactly what you'll need to do for PPE.
I do have another question, Chad. How do you recommend training farm employees on the dangers associated with each chemical?
The best training that a farmer can have is to ask the person you buy it from. When you're ordering your product from Armor Animal Health, ask your sales rep. They could get in touch with somebody in the warehouse who's really familiar with all the chemical classifications and all the proper transportation and the proper PPE and all the risk associated with that. So when in doubt, make a phone call to somebody that knows. And anybody here at Armor Animal Health, there's somebody that knows something about it. So we can get you in touch with that.
And of course, with all the PPE out there and everything, we carry all of it, don't we, Chad?
We do. Amongst all our sites here in Mandan, in St. Joseph, Minnesota, Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, Manchester, Pennsylvania. Between the 4 sites, we have everything you need to provide the proper PPE. Our purchasing department is amazing, and if we don't have it in stock, they can find it for us. So we got you covered on that one.
So when using hazmat products, do you have any advice for us out there?
The best advice is to know what you're dealing with, be familiar with it. Read the labels. The labels will tell you the chemical compounds, the flammability of it. Our salespeople are very knowledgeable on what you can and cannot mix together. Our shipping departments in all the locations know how to properly ship either a small package out to you and the proper stickers we need and all the paperwork available, all the way up to route drivers who have to placard there. So we have got your bases covered as far as all your know-how and knowledge of what the chemical does and the dangers of it.
Is it hard to find companies to transport hazmat materials?
Surprisingly, no. Here in Mandan, we ship out ivermectin, Dectamax, any hazardous chemicals we can ship out with UPS. We have a regional carrier called Speedy and FedEx, and even our LTLs. If we ship a pallet out of ivermectin, all the carriers that we use have certified drivers who know how to properly placard their trucks, as well as UPS and FedEx and Speedy. We have a responsibility of properly labeling the package and the paperwork to go with it. And from there, as long as we do our job right, the driver is trained well enough to know that I'm carrying this dangerous product, and they'll know how to identify their trailers and placard their trailers. So I haven't ran into a delivery company that doesn't know what they're doing.
What PPE do you recommend having on the farm, Chad?
That's a very good question. Too much is never enough, in my opinion. But you should always have chemical-resistant gloves, leather gloves, face mask, face shield, or goggles, disposable respirators, or even rebreathable respirators. Those are the main ones that you should have. You could also wear chemical-resistant boots. The list can go on and on as far as rebreathing mask and all that stuff. But the main ones I would have on hand when dealing with chemicals would be gloves, face mask, goggles, and a respirator.
Thank you. And if you're not sure if something is hazardous, how can you find out?
Best way to find out is to call our sales rep or to call Armor Animal Health directly. We could tell you if it's hazardous or not, and if it's flammable, corrosive, a poison, or anything like that. You could also go on, you can Google it, and as long as you know what chemical you're using, Google it, and the first thing that should pop up is what they call safety data sheets. Years past, they are MSDSs, SDSs, stuff like that. Those are your best Bible, I would say, to go over it. It gives you a ton of information of what to do in a spill, what are the hazards, what are the proper ways to transport it, proper ways to handle it, the kind of PPE you need. It's a great resource. We have them available at the drop of a hat. Just make a phone call and say, hey, I've got ivermectin, I need the SDS sheets. We can email them to you within seconds. We have them posted all over in our SDS books in our warehouse. We have a quick reference on the Armor Animal Health Mandan website. When you look for that particular item, there's a little pop-up or box that you click on, and it'll bring you right to the SDS forms there.
Well, thank you, Chad. Do you have any advice to everybody out there when they're using hazmat products?
So some of the tips for safe use when using hazardous products is to ensure that anyone using the chemical is familiar with it and knows the hazards as well as the proper PPE to use. You need to be aware of the hazards and the first aid measures to utilize if you come into contact with the chemical. You only want to mix the quantity of chemical required for the task. Make sure the area is well ventilated when you're mixing chemicals. Double and even triple check that the chemicals you are mixing are the correct chemicals. Always wear your PPE. Discard any empty chemical containers and accessories properly. Close all the containers when you're not using them. Even if you pour out a little bit and just set it aside, always put the cap on. Every little bit helps to prevent spills. have access to your SDS sheets. Smartphones are amazing. You can Google anything on your smartphone as long as you have reception, and having that on hand is crucial. And if you can, utilize spill trays when storing chemicals. So those little plastic or chemical resistant trays that you put on your shelf, and then you put the chemicals on that.
Thank you for all your advice and tips when handling chemicals, Chad. We'll take some time for questions now. I have one here. Does the SDS sheets also come in Spanish or other languages for the farm employees?
Yes, very good question. SDS sheets are available in any language that you need to. Google is an amazing tool. We have access here in Mandan to translate any MS or SDS sheet into any language possible. So the best course of action is, if you can, Google it and say that I need SDS for ivermectin in Spanish, and it should pop up. If not, get a hold of your Armor Animal Health rep, and they'll transfer you to somebody in the warehouse, and like I said, within minutes, we can have that in your hands.
I have one more here. Are you aware of any app that lets you access SDS sheets faster than just Googling it?
I am not aware of any apps yet. I believe there's got to be something out there. I know with the government regulations, their website, the DOT website has a specific line there that you can click on, and you have access to search any SDS sheets that you have. That's a good question. After this session here, I'm definitely going to look that up and see if there is an app. But I know on most of our websites, either it would be the St. Joe or the Mandan, and I believe Beaver Dam also has it also, where you could look up on the website of our company, and once you bring that item comes up, there's a quick click to bring up the MSDS sheets.
Just looking through the questions here.
Sure.
How do you handle employees who discard hazardous material? SOPs.
How do I handle SOPs? Employees will be, so when I have an employee here, we have a training session, obviously forklift and workplace safety, but in that workplace safety, we also go over chemicals and proper handling of them. We go over all the risks. I show them where the SDS sheets are, which are located by my desk. We have refresher training every 3 to 6 months on all of our chemical hazards, being aware of which chemicals are hazardous, what happens, what do you do during a chemical spill, how to properly label them for shipping and things like that. If you have any questions, if the farmer has any questions on some of their ranch hands or their hired help on how to do that, feel free to call Armor Animal Health and ask, hey, I want to train my employees on proper handling skills, and we could definitely help them out and walk them through the full process of what to do, what to look for, emergency situations, things like that.
Okay. Thanks, Chad. And I know to all the viewers out there, I know that we do have SDS sheets that are on our website also.
There you go. Thank you.
Just doesn't look like we're getting any more questions here. So looks like we're out of questions here, Chad. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I'd like to add that when you're transporting hazardous materials, the threshold of when you need to placard the transporting vehicle is when the total weight of the hazardous material is over 1,001 pounds. So if if you've got 2 5-liter jugs of Dectamax in your vehicle, you don't need a placard. You need to be aware of what you have with you, so in case you get into an accident and you're unable to respond to emergency personnel, at least have a written record of what it is. Also, when you're transporting, there can be either one hazardous class or a combination of hazardous classes. When you're transporting different classes of hazardous material, a placard for each class must be displayed. And of course, that's when the combined weight is over 1,001 pounds. As I mentioned previously,
Dad, I'd like to interrupt you there.
Sorry. Yep.
I'd like to interrupt you. I know that when I was driving a route truck and delivering chemicals, T-tip and soap and acid for farms, I know that I had to have an endorsement on my license. Is that still the case even if you don't have a CDL?
Correct. It is. If you're carrying over 1,000 pounds, 1,001 pounds, you need to have that endorsement on your license. That endorsement is kind of like a air brake endorsement. When you're driving a semi, of course, you need your CDL, but then there's endorsements that you have to have. In order to transport hazardous materials, you need that hazardous endorsement on your license. It's gotten to be a pretty lengthy task to do. Back when I was driving semi before 1998 to be exact, all I had to do was pay a $20 testing fee and take about a $40 written test. Nowadays, it's a bit more lengthy. You have to, I believe last time I looked, it was about $120 to get that endorsement. You had to also do the written test, and then there's a federal background check that you have to go through. So it's time consuming, but it's like if you're not driving a semi, and you're not transporting large amounts of chemicals, you won't need that. But again, you need to have the right information available to anybody, any emergency personnel that would happen to be there if there is an accident. They need to know what you're carrying, and from there they can determine the proper ways to handle that hazardous spill.
I know a tote is easily over 1,000 pounds. So just carrying one tote will put you over that threshold.
Very good. Yeah, that's a perfect example right there. We don't carry much totes here in the Mandan location, but I was fortunate enough to be in Beaver Dam for a week or so, and I seen the amount of totes there, and so that's a perfect example. Each one of those totes is well over 1,000 pounds, and so if you have that in the back of your truck, I highly recommend that you placard your truck. The fines are relatively steep for inappropriately not placarding your truck. There's so much danger that you can get involved if you have to slam on your brakes and that spills, and now you're dealing with EPA, you're dealing with the DOT, you're dealing with the government. You get yourself into a bit of a tizzy there if you're not careful. Like I said, some of the best sources that you have available at your disposal are the SDS sheets. Like I said, those are pretty much the Bible for any chemical. They'll tell you exactly what you have to do, how to handle situations, all that stuff. Like Josh said, the totes, those are the number one heavy-duty things that need to be placarded. I'd also like to add that in addition to safe storage of chemicals, it's also to consider the safe storage of and disposal of your used needles. Armor Animal Health in Beaver Dam has sharps containers available for you. If you happen to have a sharps container that is full, let your salesperson know that, hey, I need your route driver to come pick up my container, my sharps container is full. They'll relay that to the route driver, and the route driver will come pick it up, and from that point, it's no longer your concern. Beaver Dam will take care of this proper disposal of it. Just reach out to your salesperson, let them know, and we'll take it from there. If you have any other question on how to properly handle or transport any chemicals, I would encourage you again to contact the sales rep. They're your first line of defense. If they don't know the answer to the question, there's tons of people in the warehouse that can easily give you the information you need. Each location, like I said, has operations managers such as myself. We're thoroughly knowledgeable. We have to be certified in the proper transportation and shipping on how to ship out the chemicals. That about sums it up. I know there is I had one question from somebody before about chemical spills. Is that covered by insurance? I cannot tell. As business, we are covered. We pay a premium for chemical spills, but for an individual farmer or rancher, if you have a chemical spill, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to your insurance agent and let them know that you have this chemical on site, you use it regularly. What is available for me to purchase as far as insurance?
Well, thanks, Chad. We hope you all enjoyed the live video and learned something new today. If you found it useful, please share with your friends. As a reminder, this video has been recorded, so it will be available to go back and view it on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel. If you are watching the recorded version, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and we'll work to answer those as well. And a big shout out to our marketing team here at Armor. We want to remind you that our virtual Dairy Expo is coming up on September 29th and through October 3rd, thanks to our marketing team here at Armor. Throughout the week, watch our Facebook page for various contests, giveaways, introduction to our team members, live events, and more. To learn more, visit our website at armoranimalhealth.com/WDE and be sure to click going on the Virtual Dairy Expo Facebook event. After this live, we'll post a survey in the comments below. So let us know if we can serve you and what topics you'd like to hear about in the future. Next week on Have You Heard, Joe Groston, beef sales representative, and Dr. Jacob Carlson will be talking with Dr. Vic Cortez from Zoetis. They will be discussing bovine respiratory disease in beef cattle. We'll see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. on Have You Heard. Thanks.